Okay, it's 7 o'clock. I'd like to call a meeting to order. Please rise for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Everybody's here tonight? No need for a roll call? Old business, approval of special meeting minutes. The special meeting minutes of March 2nd, 2023 were provided for review. Need a motion to approve the special meeting minutes of March 2nd, 2023 as presented.
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Call roll.
Mr. Garvey?
Yes.
Mr. Bueller?
Yes.
Mr. Clemens?
Yes.
Mr. Brungart?
Yes.
Mr. Stednicka?
Yes.
Mr. Gardner?
Abstain.
Motion
Mr.
passed. Item number 2 is approval of minutes.
Yeah. Sorry.
Gene didn't
Mr.
vote.
Kirby?
Yes.
Mr. Major?
Yes.
Oh.
The mayor
Here.
is really excited tonight.
We did have a majority, by the way, so it did pass. Item number 2 is approval of minutes. The regular meeting minutes of March 2nd, 2023 were provided for review. I need a motion to approve the regular meeting minutes of March 2, 2023 as presented.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the minutes? No, call a roll.
Mr. Garvey?
Yes.
Mr. Bueller?
Yes.
Mr. Clemens?
Yes.
Mr. Brungart?
Yes.
Mr. Stednicka?
Yes.
Mr. Gardner?
Yes.
Mr. Kirby?
Yes.
Mr. Major?
Yes.
All right, audience participation. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to address the council on an item that is not on the agenda? I think you guys are on the agenda. Nope. Okay, new business equipment replacement requests, city influent pump, VFDs. Staff solicited a quote for the city's SCADA contractor to replace the city's 4 influent pump VFDs. You want to explain what a VFD is?
Variable frequency drive.
There you go. Okay, these are variable frequency drives used at the treatment facility. The VFDs have been discontinued and all spare parts have been exhausted. Staff had programmed these 3-year replacement program for the 10 VFDs, but as of now, 3 of the influent pumps have failed, of which 2 of the units have been rewired and connected to the idle VFD for surface aerators. Over the next 2 years, staff will continue to replace the rest of the VFDs. So I need a motion to approve the quote from R.E. Pedrati for $89,880 to replace the 4 variable frequency drives.
98,000.
That's what I said. What'd I say?
89.
I'm sorry. I'm dyslexic tonight. $98,880.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. Tony, any questions for Tony on this one? No? Okay, call the roll.
Mr. Garvey?
Yes.
Mr. Bueller?
Yes.
Mr. Clemens?
Yes.
Mr. Brungart?
Yes.
Mr. Stednicka?
Yes.
Mr. Gardner?
Yes.
Mr. Kirby?
Yes.
Mr. Major?
Yes.
Motion passed. Item number 4 is J.K. Root preliminary plat approval. The owners of 292 West Gilman have applied for a phased preliminary plat approval for a 4-lot subdivision. The first phase will split the existing lot into 2 lots to allow for 1 additional home to be built and access Gilman Road via the driveway on city property. The Planning Commission met on 15 February and voted 3-1 to recommend approval of the preliminary plat with conditions. The conditions recommended by the Planning Commission are dedication of public right-of-way, approval of 2 lots using the joint driveway on city Lansing property to access Gilman Road. And number 3 was the City Council acknowledges that the applicant will not develop Valley Drive at any time of the recording of the final plat. Number 4 is if when Valley Drive is constructed, any home built on the property described by the surveyor's description of the JK route plat will be required to access Valley Drive, which would be the new road. So action, I need a motion to either approve with recommended conditions or approve with amended conditions or disapprove the preliminary plat submitted for the JK Route subdivision.
Move we approve with recommended conditions.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Go ahead, Kevin.
Go ahead, Dan.
All right. So, where is Valley exactly on this?
So this is just the preliminary plat, so Valley isn't on there yet. Valley would be to the north. I think we would be recommending that roadway eventually be named Valley, though.
Yeah, that other. So you've got two homes that's gonna be using the driveway that's on the city property coming into Gilman.
Right.
But if he develops the two up north, where does the road go? There's nothing up north. Do they come down and develop the road?
I think the guidance of previous staff was to show the preliminary plat for how it would look long-term, and then the final plat only shows one additional lot. So the final plat's not really being considered by this body right now, but we included it in the packet just so you guys could see. I think that's the more immediate vision.
Okay, so we're not gonna deal with the other two, the access, we're just doing with the two accessing Gilman?
Right, on this
In
plat.
if this was passed, it would go back and the final plat would go before the planning commission, and that's the one with just one additional lot, yeah.
And the planning commission's already seen that, those are their conditions that were permitted, or proposed?
Yeah. The
Yes.
four on here were the proposed conditions put on by the planning commission.
Thank you. That's my question.
Okay.
Uh-uh.
Who else had
I
a
was
question,
waiting.
Gene?
I thought we were going down.
Or did you
I'd
have
like,
one there?
I'd like to talk about the wastewater line. If I understand correctly, the wastewater line should be all the way to the end of the property. Right? Wrong. Instead of being,
Can we pull up the
Tony.
GIS rather than this? Is that okay?
Is your question if they put a second house there, would they need a full new sewer line all the way down to where it
Yep.
connects?
yep, I mean, that's code. And here we are cutting off.
So what you
It's up
see
to the
here,
mayor,
what's,
not me.
Can I bring everybody up to speed on this thing, just to give you some history on this problem?
Yeah, once these questions are answered, I'll have you come up and,
so this is the current sewer situation, at the property. And you can see coming out of that manhole there, just south of the property line, there's a service line that services, I believe his present residence. As I understand it, they want to extend that service north to the next lot so that both lots would share a combined service lateral, which I believe is 6-inch. Typically, city mains are no smaller than 8-inch. And if this was a subdivision, again, we could play semantics, but if this was a subdivision, we would require the developer to extend sewer from one property line to the other. So in this case, all the way to the north to what would be the adjoining property owner's property. Now, that's not necessarily the case here, but it's the city council's policy to decide how they want to
But
proceed
that's
with
normally what we would do.
that is what we've done in the past for typical residential developments, including Wyndham Hills, Rock Creek, even the Lansing High School. If you look at the high school, we brought sewer all the way to the west side of the property and all the way to the north behind the baseball diamonds, just because it prepares for future growth and allows for ease of access for the next person to connect without having to interrupt other private property owners.
Because what we're getting into here, what it looks like to me is we're going to piecemeal this.
I've already did a sewer extension. I did.
You did it to your house.
Yeah, can I?
yeah, come on up and say your name if you're gonna ask questions. So.
Up to speed?
Let him speak,
Because,
yeah.
you're not perfectly correct.
Okay.
So just come on up and state your name and
Sure.
where you live, and then.
All right, here's the situation. My name's Jeff Root. I live at 292 West Gilman. I also built 300 West Gilman there. And I extended the sewer main 205 feet from 206 Gilman back in year 2000, 23 years ago. And this was the planner then, or public works director, whoever his title was. I bought 2.5 acres. I built 300. I extended the sewer main at my expense. I worked at Larkin Excavating. I physically extended it. and I physically set the manhole and absorbed all the cost, had it engineered. It's an engineered system. Everything's good. So 300 is actually, that manhole stubs out 3 ways. It goes to the west, and 300 is tied to that. It goes to the north, and my house, 292, is tied to that. You're also, of course, to the west, where it is an 8-inch main. All of that is stubbed out 8-inch. Just like any subdivision, and you run a 4-inch service to an 8-inch main. And what I'd be looking at doing if I was to build up top, all I'm really looking at doing is, and I've talked to Matt, Matt's the one had told us to draw this exactly how we've drawn it. I spent more money. The city has absolutely no money in this property ever. I've maintained the right-of-way. I extended the sewer. I built 2 houses. There was originally going to be 4 lots once a road went through, which there's 48 acres up top. Steve Buffalo's ground that one day we'll sell. It's up for sale right now, and it will develop. And this would give you access from 4H Road to Gilman, just like if there's not many access out of Wyndham right now. So if there was an emergency to shut the street down up there, and if you've built 50 more houses on that 50 acres, there's no way to get out. So this is a future plan, and what had happened, it was a dedicated road right away in the day. But it failed to get recorded correctly. You know, I did everything on my part, but either the city or whoever would control that did not get it recorded correctly. So basically I gave 60 feet wide plus a 5-foot utility easement, 660 feet long to the city, looking towards the future because I was building houses at that time, and I was doing excavating, and you know, I was hoping and that was their dream that if the city owns this property, whoever develops that, they're going to make them put in 600 foot of street. And, of course, they would tie on to the manhole that I set. And you'd only be servicing one house that would be affected. That would be a new house if there was one built up there. Matt said we fell into the category that you could share, you know, 2 houses could share 1 driveway. And if you look at the final plat, you'll see that the one house would have the 3 upper lots, and the city would control a building permit. And I would assume you could build on any of those lots. I made the top one bigger, and what Matt wanted to do was clean this whole mess up. His idea was, because I already had the house financed just on the one size of lot, but it had not been subdivided or split off of that property. So the idea was add the swimming pool I have built there to this house. That way that property could sell, or the 3 lots, which would be really 1, but it would be platted for you guys for future. That would be 1 piece too, and that would enable me. Right now my hands are tied on this property. I'm getting older. I'm not going to be able to maintain this thing forever. City's going to have to mow their right away at some point, and you know, if the future comes, one might have to give. I might either have to sell the house with the pool, build up top, and the way the economy is right now, I doubt that would happen. But it would also enable us to either borrow money or just do something different with this property. If somebody had some money and they wanted to build up there, I would probably sell it to them, and then they could deal with you guys. But the bottom line is, you'd be looking at from one of those 3 lots, which is 1 piece of property, so whoever bought that would own the 3. They would already be platted. The city would control the building permit. You could say, no, we'd like to see you honor these plat and build, you know, within the thing, even if you're not going to develop the other 2 lots. But one day it probably would. You know, somebody would own that or whatever. It'd be the option. It would be done, all at my expense. The city has nothing in this. I spent thousands more to have this survey done and did it exactly like Matt, just didn't get it done before he left. But the bottom line is, you'd be looking at coming down that 5-foot utility easement with a 4-inch sewer service and tie on to that manhole or one of the stubs out of it. And that would be, you know, that would be the only catch that somebody's got. It would be no big deal if that road came through and the sewer came through to grab the one house, 4-inch service, when the main's coming by, boom, tie onto it. It's not a big deal. We did it all the time. But that's really the only dilemma. Other than that, the city's out nothing. This is planning for the future. You know, you would inherit all the property tax and all the building and whatever, and you'd be in control of it, you know. So that's what's really has happened here. And are you Tony? Okay, yeah. I knew Dave Thomas, and I spoke to you back when I was dealing with Matt on this. But
Sure.
that's what would be looking. And the house, realize this house, my other neighbor, Dennis Hine, we were back there at 210. sewer service is 600 feet long, 4-inch. We tied him in when we did this, you know. It's not a big deal for one house to be served on 4-inch. That's what all subdivisions are. Any new subdivision is 4-inch service to the 8-inch main. There's many ways to tie in down there. You got 3 8-inch pipes stubbed out. You got the manhole, you know, it's not that big a dilemma. You got the 5-foot easement, plus I have
And it would
dedicated.
be on the owner or whoever bought the property to do it, right? So I mean,
Do
it's
what?
to put the sewer down into the
That's what I
net.
was gonna
So
ask. If that did
So, I
develop
mean-
later on, who's responsible for putting that 8-inch line?
it's the owner, whoever's owner.
Well, or
I-
probably whoever put the
The
street in.
manhole, right?
It's probably whoever put the
I'd like
street
to hear
in.
from Tony.
I want to clarify Kevin's question. Can you, I didn't hear you.
If we did okay all this, and in the future, they did develop that up there, and we had to put the street in and the sewer, who's responsible for the 8-inch line? And I know we would probably put the street in, correct? No?
Well, at
The
some
developer
point
would-
in the
Developer.
future, there may be a street there, but that just depends.
Correct. Typically, those are costs borne by the developer,
Right.
which include all public improvements.
But realize that upper property might want the lower manhole I already set. You know, you got the gravity fall. I mean, it's there. And I already did one sewer extension. I wouldn't be looking at, you know, to absorb that cost these days. I don't have access to track hose and buy manholes, and you know what I mean? It's high. But the whole idea was, you put 50 more houses up there, you have whoever develops it, just say the city's had this, and this is a plan the city has. You put your sewer, you put storm sewer, and you put a street in. I mean, it's 600 foot long. That's completely up to you guys if you think that's theoretically possible. You know, and if you guys are completely against this, then I'm up for the idea, let me build a garage at the end of my concrete right there and give my land back, or I'll buy it back from you. You know, I'm just exhausted on this thing. 23 years, I've spent my life trying to see this follow through. I've done all the direction the city's directed me. I feel like I've done my part more so than any other civilian, you know. So it's either just let me live my life one way or the other. Let's plan for the future if you want it. If you don't, then just do something with the property I gave you guys, and you've got not one penny in. You've not mowed one stitch of grass. You've not done anything. And that's really all I got to say, that I'm trying to plan the future with you and developing that ground up top, and it will happen one day. Steve Buffo's getting old. It is up for sale. I don't see his kids staying there and keeping it agriculture forever. So that's really my suggestion to you guys, and I think Tony would be receptive. Yeah, when I spoke to him before, he talked about you keep separation from the water, you know, to the sewer.
Well, there's always a discussion of a cross connection, but I guess the real issue is, A, can you connect another home to another service connection? And the answer is yes, you can do that. That's their
I don't
prerogative.
want time to service. I mean, I'd be tying onto a main.
So you're going to extend the main
No, I'm just saying the main's there. You'd be looking at running a 4-inch service with cleanouts every 100 foot for however far, whichever lot you decided to build on. See what I'm saying? That's what I'm telling you. 210 right now has a 4-inch service that's roughly probably 550 feet long. It works just fine.
Right. And the only caveat to that would be if the lower downstream home sold to another person.
No, it wouldn't be. It'd be on the
He's
easement.
talking,
I don't know if there's an easement shown anywhere on the
I've got
plat.
it. I mean, I've got it. That's what I'm telling you. Can we look at the final plat? Because that's where everybody's confused. When you look at this subdivided and it shows the 3 lots, I'd like you to see the final plat, which is really what would happen at the end.
I don't have my glasses on. I'll be able to see.
That's
I'm not sure if we have the final plat loaded on the computer.
it wasn't in the
Or is that scroll down?
That says final.
That's it.
yeah.
That's
Let's
it.
go on. Or will it scroll anymore? Yeah, let's show both. See, you're looking at lot 1 up top would be really 3 platted lots for you guys, but really whoever owned it would own those 3 lots. There would be 1 building permit on the city's discretion. No, I've got no control over it. But the idea would be if I sold lot 2 with the pool and the house together, that I could possibly build up there. If not, that I could possibly sell that or just do something with it one day besides mow it, because I'm just getting older. I'm not going to be able to mow this for free for the city forever. You know, and I don't want to stick my wife with this headache either, that one day she deals with. So, I mean, the city's got nothing in it, and it's a great future plan. And the only thing we're getting hung up on is a 4-inch service line, which the neighbor right next door has one from all the way in the back, all the way down. It works just fine.
I don't think anybody's hung up on it. I think they're just trying to figure out.
Well, I got you. But I mean, that came up. That really seems like the biggest hiccup. Is all I'm saying, and it's not really a hiccup if you understand 4-inch.
And really, I mean, if this plat goes through, you own that property until you sell it, and then it's on whoever.
But realize it would be you got a 5-foot utility easement that sewer service could come down, so nobody would own it. It's dead. It's a utility easement, and you got a 60-foot road right of way. That, you know, so you're looking at one sewer service and one water service that would tie in if the new stuff ever came through. It's really minimal.
Okay, did anybody have any other questions?
Yeah, I do.
Right.
Yep.
So, it's obvious you've done a lot of work into this, and and that's all fine and good, but what I heard you say was you did your part, the city didn't do theirs.
No, I'm saying on the
No,
recording.
you said, right, okay.
That's what Matt's trying to clean up, is the dedicated part. Right now, he said it's really just a piece of ground versus that I gave to the city versus a dedicated road right-of-way. Larry might be able to shine some more light on that. Then after Matt said that, he also said, well, Larry found the dedication. It says right on the print I got from the old days, road right-of-way. You know, dedicated road right-of-way. So I don't know how else you would look at it. It just didn't get recorded. And that's what Matt wanted to clean this up and clean it all up. And it really does clean up all the loose ends. I can't explain it as well as him. I'm not college educated.
No, I mean, the
You know.
planning commission put that in
see it.
this approval. So the first thing they put on there was dedication of public right-of-way, which is to clean that up. So that's in there.
You know, the other discussion came up at the planning thing too, that if somebody had used that so-called city property as a driveway for 20 years, they would maintain like, you know, some type of grandfather. Well, I've used it. I got $15,000 worth of concrete sitting on it. But if this road's going to come through, bring it through, tear it. I understand how road right-of-ways work. You tear it out, you do the improvements. It's just a future plan for the city, and it gives you access from 50 more houses. It's going to happen one day on top of that hill. Of course, they might come out to K7. They might not, but it gives you a future plan at free cost. I mean, you can't beat it. It's a great budget for the city.
Well, I would, currently, he would be responsible to run the sewer to Buffalo's, correct?
If this is considered a
developed.
subdivision,
It's not. It's really not. It's considered 2 parcels of land.
again, we can get into semantics. That's not my role tonight.
I understand.
I'm just saying, you know, when ground develops and homes get built,
And that's what I did, you know. So, I mean, I extended 200 feet of 8-inch service.
I understand what you did. I want to hear
Yeah.
what Tony has to say.
so
Thank
that's typically our policy.
you. Right.
Now, again, I'm not going to argue whether it's one home versus 2 lots or 2 lots versus 3 or 1 plus another one for future use. That's not my place.
Right.
You know, I do see now that there is a utility easement that, you know, surrounds the parcels as, you know, as we would require. However, prior to tonight, I was not told that a separate sewer service would be run up to what would be considered lot 2, I guess, you know, on that drawing, you know. So any concerns I have with regarding private sewers crossing other private property is no. That's fine.
You don't have any concern?
Not doing it that way, except that it becomes a policy decision in how we define a development, whether you want to call it, and I'm not a developer or planner or anything else, I'm just saying,
What's a subdivision and what's not?
what's not. I mean, if you look at
So
Wyndham
we've
Hill,
had this discussion before. I was discussing this with Tim earlier. Do you remember the people who wanted to put in 3 houses by the cemetery?
yes,
And we wanted to charge them like $350,000 in fees for something stupid, and they wanted to walk away because of those stupid fees? Huh?
Yeah, it was the frontage street piece.
Yeah. But the street was already there.
No, I know.
So it didn't make any sense at the time, and we waived the fees. So we're allowed to do stuff like that.
Oh,
To get houses built in this town, because nobody's building houses right now in this town.
The only thing that ever concerns me, and I feel like we get burned, is that if when we get away from following code, you guys know what I mean?
Yep.
I always worry about that.
But if you view this as not a subdivision, you are following the code.
True.
Yeah, it's two
And two
pieces.
houses is not a subdivision.
And,
No, I understand.
and the way it's, the final plat shows it.
I agree.
That I extended 8-inch sewer main like you should to the property. And I'm looking at serving, you know, besides the piece that goes off to the west, because it's basically its own entity. You know, that house, I don't own it. It's on its own stub. So you're looking at servicing 2 houses down to a manhole I brought to the property. And it's perfectly within the city's rules that you can, like, say you own a house here and you want to let your kids, or you want to build it back and give them that. That's what we're doing. We're splitting the property into 2 pieces to where you could basically build 2 houses. And of course, the platting's just done. Why wouldn't Matt throw that in for free and have Larry draw it while I'm redrawing all this? I've already had it surveyed before. But why not throw it in for free for the future? You know, why not? And that's what we've done.
My biggest reservation, and I expressed this to a couple of you earlier, was, you know, private sewer on private lots. In this case, now that I'm aware that we've got actual utility easements and the sanitary sewer is going to be placed in that easement, that removes the city from any civil responsibility should something arise in the future. And that's what I'm trying to protect.
Right.
If it's on your property, the city's property, if it's 4-inch sewer and calls it private on your property.
He doesn't call it private.
No. Well, you would
Then
own it.
you think it's okay to bring in a 4-inch sewer to the city?
Well, it's only being used for one lot.
If we're gonna talk, you
Yeah,
have to
you
open the
have to come up with
mic, be on the record.
It's one service. That's what you do. It's 4-inch service. Every house, every new subdivision has an 8-inch main. Typically, there's 300 feet between manholes. You can have up to 20 houses between them. You know, with a T. It's basic. And the bottom line is,
Hey, sir, can you come up to the microphone? So they-
yeah, I just figured I was loud enough everybody can hear me. But I'm just throwing my arms up. I'm trying to plan for the future. I'm all in. You know, I've spent thousands and thousands and thousands and 23 years trying to watch this thing happen. And it's my goal. I wanted to develop it. It looks like I probably won't. But don't mean somebody can't. And it's already drawn. It's done. It's free. I don't know when someone would build there. But if they did, you can control the sewer. You can control where they put the water. You can control, and it's just one service. One house is all you would deal with if you brought a street and you brought utilities down there.
So Tony, you feel
Like we've sufficed his.
you feel comfortable?
I'm glad to see that it's not on private property, that it's actually a dedicated utility easement. And I think Greg would echo those comments as well. Yeah.
And that's what Matt's seen.
Okay.
It's time to clean this up. If I leave this and expire from this world, it's a mess. And my wife don't deal with this stuff, so it's really something I don't know who would deal with. So we either deal with it as a group now.
I think the background too. I think Matt and Mr. Root had been speaking for several months.
Oh, and he told Larry exactly how to draw it.
Yes, but I think the original discussion started off with asking if you could do a lot split through an administrative plat, which is handled internally, but you can't do that if there's no access. So I think that's why Matt steered him in this direction. And I think his thought process at that time was utilizing the joint driveway, because joint driveways are permitted in the UDO. I think outside of sewer, the other thing the Planning Commission discussed quite a bit, though, was just clarifying that the City Council's okay with access to 2 private residents on city property. I think that was the other big thing the Planning Commission discussed quite a bit.
It would really be the driveways on what would be then and now, if we approve this, to a dedicated road right-of-way, which means, and Matt said it would be perfectly fine to run gravel if a person went from where I've already extended concrete for 200 and some feet, up to the house I'm in. It's complete hard surface, but then you might extend that another, however far you went to build one more, if that was even to happen.
So
There's
essentially, he's taking a chance, though, by putting his driveway all the way through on city property.
There's-
To clarify.
Yeah,
Because just like someone who puts an irrigation system in the right of way and we tear it up, we're not responsible for it.
Yeah,
Same situation.
I want to say
He's willing
that,
to take the chance.
that's correct. If Buffalo's property developed tomorrow and we required, I don't know, if we tried to require that developer to extend that road, if we made that argument, Mr. Root did acknowledge in the Planning Commission meeting, he knows that driveway would be torn up. He did
And they
acknowledge
talked
that.
about maybe noting that,
Yeah.
but of course everybody knows. When you go through I've went through subdivisions, you know, old ones with no storm sewer and whatever. Gladstone, Missouri won an award for doing the job, millions of dollar project, federally funded. The bottom line was, yeah, you tear out to the right of way, you put in storm, you put in new sanitary, you set new manholes, everything gets new water lines, new water service, everything goes in new. And what you would tell a developer, which might be Riley, because they've inquired about that property, offered Buffalo money, he's just a little greedier than they want. He wants $1 million, you know, I mean, that's a lot. But the bottom line is, he will expire too, none of us get to stay. But the bottom line is, that's what happens. And yeah, come tear it out, put the road in. I've wanted to see this road forever.
So it says right in there, in the conditions, that they're gonna do that, so.
And if you want to call it Valley, you can remove my name from it. That's just something the surveyor does, is typically standard deal when, and like Matt said, typically a homeowner don't pay for all of this. But I was willing to do it. You know, you usually see a developer pay for this.
Well, did you pay for this over 23 years?
Yeah, dearly. I have.
It's been a long process.
You don't know how many hours we got into mowing that piece, you
No,
know,
I'm
of the
being
city
facetious.
property.
I'm sure you have.
Oh, we do. But the bottom line is, it's a great future plan, and that's where whoever does develop up top, if you look at, can we get that up like we did last time to show the other committee the Wyndham subdivision, how it aims at that top?
Oh, yeah, no,
Can you pull up GI?
we've actually discussed this.
Sorry. Well, I'm just saying, if you look at the overall picture like Matt showed me, because I talked to him about just purchasing the ground back, and I wanted to build a garage. But if he goes about a frame back from that. Yeah, see those roads and all those houses aimed right at Buffalo's property, aimed right at, you know, the access to Gilman is exactly what the last public works director was. That's why he encouraged me, he coerced me, he aimed me in this direction, and it was all for the city, and I could see the vision, and I've done everything on my part. I don't know what else you do.
And the only other access is 4-H.
Yeah, all those houses go to 4-H right now.
Right.
Yeah.
So if this does build out, we'd want access to.
You would, and you'd go to K7 too, of course, but you'd love to have this too, and that's where you can say all of this work's been done to do this, and you tell the developer there's 600 foot of street, and everybody gets what they want.
Okay. Anybody else got any questions?
I'll just say I get a little concerned about making exceptions.
Well, what's the exception in this case?
Really.
But the sewer line's going down a utility easement.
Yeah.
Can I tell you the exception?
That's not private property.
Yes or no?
Yes.
Hey, you come up and just say who you are.
I'm
but-
Jerry Dees, I'm on the City Planning Commission. The exceptions are everything in the subdivision regulations. Every other developer has to put in a road, has to put in sewer, has to put in water, has to put gas electric, has to put a sidewalk.
If it were a subdivision.
But that's a subdivision. If you want him to crap this, just say, we'll never record this, and just give him permission to build a couple houses in the backyard, you can do that. The zoning ordinance doesn't allow it, but you can give an exception to it. Tell him to take this plat and just stick it in a drawer someplace and say, go ahead. If you think it's good to have houses behind houses behind houses with no frontage,
if you look
then go ahead and do it.
If
But
you
don't give some of the exceptions to the subdivision regulations.
Okay, hold on. So our job here is to give exceptions if we think they make sense.
That's exactly, you
Okay,
can,
so-
you can.
so-
But as a citizen, I paid for my sidewalk, I paid for my sewer, I paid for all this. If you think, in this case, he doesn't have to, then you have the legal authority too. You're not really approving the subdivision, you're sticking it back to the planning commission because the planning commission approves preliminaries. What you're doing is you're telling the planning commission, we recommend you do it because we're not going to make him do any of the subdivision requirements.
The final plat still goes back to the planning commission,
And
just
and
as
by
just
the way,
the
the final plat that you had on the board is not the final plat he showed.
However,
to the planning
I
commission.
don't want the council to get confused. So this was voted on by the planning commission, 3-1 recommending, with the following conditions, of which I've read.
So,
Okay, so-
normally preliminary plats do not go to the city council. But in this case, because this was asking for a private driveway on city right-of-way, the planning commission thought it appropriate to verify with the city council that you guys were okay with that. So that's why it came to you guys. Every other time preliminaries do not go to the city council.
Right, Matt told me it wouldn't go to city. There was no argument that really, if it was drawn like this, and it's only split, it's getting plotted, but it's not really. It's getting divided, one piece of property into two, and then two sharing one drive if the lot built. If, that's a big if. I ain't got $300,000 to build a new house or 400. So but what it does do is enable my future to just, somebody could develop that. It just splits it and makes it more feasible, whatever. And it works out a bunch of problems for you guys in the future instead of just having a big lot there. You're just going to mow a piece of property up there and just and for no apparent reason.
I think we got enough information, I think, so thanks.
Gotcha.
I mean,
Sorry.
I mean,
it's easy.
I think we got it.
I got you.
I get it. I think anybody else have any questions? Of either.
So
Okay.
I just want to make sure, Tony, you're good with this.
As was explained to me tonight, putting things in a utility easement and not on private property, I have no issue with because it protects you guys.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Mayor,
the only thing I would ask, I know it's been talked about, but if you could explicitly make it a condition, if it is approved, that when it goes back, that another condition be that anything put in that right of way has to be approved by the city, and if it's put in there, that the city is in no way financially responsible for any action, eminent domain, or anything like that. That if we come in and there's going to be a road there in the future, that somebody cannot make a claim that, well, I've got $40,000 worth of concrete there and I want reimbursed. So, and I understand that I've heard comments to that effect that we know, because to your point, Mr. Garvey, is that usually what people put it in there, it's unknown to the city. But in this instance, we know it's going in there. So I just want to make sure there's a clarification that if this is passed and then future driveway is extended to the north, that we're in no way, shape, or form responsible for any tear out, any future roadway extension to the south out of that Buffalo property if it ever happens. So.
That was a lot of work.
That was a lot.
So do we
I
need
think I'll stick
to,
with the conditions that the planning commission.
I'm saying number 4 should be the city is not financially responsible if there's a tear out in the future if this is approved.
Number 5.
5. Okay,
We're
sorry.
already after
Number
that.
5.
Yeah, I agree with
I think that's a good idea. That gentleman.
so do we need
could
to
sell.
withdraw the motion and
If you want to add that condition,
Yes.
yes.
Withdraw the second.
I
Withdraw the
my
motion.
second.
I withdraw my motion and make a motion that we approve it with conditions and the condition that the attorney just said.
Second.
Did you articulate that in some document somewhere? Okay.
She got it. She was writing like crazy.
All right, I have a motion and, did I get a second?
I second it.
Okay. I have a motion and a second to approve with the recommended condition and the addition of item number 5. Discussion is over. Call a roll.
Mr. Garvey,
Yes.
Mr. Bueller.
Yes.
Mr. Clemens,
Yes.
Mr. Brungard,
Yes.
Mr. Studnicka,
Yes.
Mr. Gardner,
Yes.
Mr. Kirby,
No.
Mr. Major.
Yes.
Motion passed. Item number 5 is executive session for economic development. Need a motion to go into executive session for the preliminary discussion of economic development activities under KSA 75-4319 Bravo 4 for 15 minutes, beginning at 7:39 and ending at,
It's not public.
all right, 7:39
There's all kinds of stuff. in here. Gas lines.
for 15 minutes? Yeah,
So moved.
54.
Jerry, we gotta,
Oh, I'm sorry.
we're going into executive session.
Have a motion and a second?
Who's second? I missed second.
Who's second?
I did.
You did, thank you.
I don't know, but let's just go with it.
Mr. Garvey,
Yes.
Mr. Bueller,
Yes.
Mr. Clemens,
Yes.
Mr. Brungard,
Yes.
Mr. Studnicka,
Yes.
Mr. Gardner,
Yes.
Mr. Kirby,
Yes.
Mr. Major.
Yes.
That's why I went that way.
Okay, with that,
Are you okay? Yeah.
Make a motion to return to open session.
Second.
Motion to return to open session, 7:54, and a second. Call the roll.
Mr. Garvey?
Yes.
Mr. Bueller?
Yes.
Mr. Clemens?
Yes.
Mr. Brungard?
Yes.
Mr. Studnicka?
Yes.
Mr. Gardner?
Yes.
Mr. Kirby?
Yes.
Mr. Major?
Yes.
Make a motion to collaborate with Landau Water District to design and potentially construct water line in town center.
Second.
Who was second? I'm sorry.
Dean.
Okay, thank you.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Call the roll.
Mr. Garvey?
Yes.
Mr. Bueller?
Yes.
Mr. Clemens?
Yes.
Mr. Brungard?
Yes.
Mr. Studnicka?
Yes.
Mr. Gardner?
Yes.
Mr. Kirby?
Yes.
Mr. Major?
Yes.
Department head. City attorney.
Another report, Mayor.
Tim,
Nothing.
What?
say who? All right. Around the horn, Jesse.
I guess if we're in Lansing going south of town, I would avoid that direction.
Oh.
With the construction on 7th Highway, I haven't been that way. I go through there at 4:30 in the morning, there's no traffic then. But I could imagine in the afternoon that bottleneck around Parallel is gonna be pretty bad, so
Yes.
I would find an alternate route if I was you, so. That's all I've got.
Okay, thanks, Jesse. Greg.
Mr. Mayor, on this day in history, March 16th, 1995, Mississippi ratified the 13th Amendment, becoming the last state to officially approve the abolition of slavery, 130 years after slavery was abolished. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, I'm sure they thank you down there in Mississippi. Dan.
Nothing, Mayor.
All right. Thanks, Gary.
I have nothing, Mayor.
Don.
I don't have anything, Mayor.
Kevin.
I would like to thank Gene and Tim and Joshua, Tony, and Mr. Root for all the time that they spent helping me gather information and perspective on this issue we discussed tonight. So I was trying to catch up and try to make the right decision, and I thank every one of you for taking your time to help me out. That's all I have.
All right, thanks, Kevin. Gene.
You're welcome, Kevin. That's all I have.
Marcus.
Hey, well, with the weather changing the way it is, Tim, I don't reckon we're going to get that pavement done anytime.
You mean from this morning to this afternoon? Is that what you mean?
In the 50s
Yeah.
all week next week.
Yeah.
I think we're hoping for early April.
I like it. But it has snowed on Easter around here, so
Yeah,
nothing
good point.
surprises me.
Good point.
Nothing surprises me. All right, well, great work by everybody in our city, and at least we had some people show up tonight, Mayor, but they did have issues on here, so nobody just coming and joining us.
It was good.
And it's always good to see Tony. Appreciate you running up the bill.
Oh, he did it.
And with that, Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we adjourn.
Second.
Motion and a second to adjourn. Call the roll.
Mr. Garvey?
Yes.
Mr. Bueller?
Yes.
Mr. Clemens?
Yes.
Mr. Brungard?
Yes.
Mr. Studnicka?
Yes.
Mr. Gardner?
Yes.
Mr. Kirby?
Yes.
Mr. Major?
Yes.
Are adjourned.